The Lassie Talks podcast.
Hi, I'm Yvonne.
And I'm Robert.
And here we are at Lassie Talks podcast, episode 4. And today we're going to talk about Bad Hair Day. Hey, Joy?
That's grooming.
Yes, exactly. And, in lockdown, dog groomers fortunately stay open, but not for us dudes.
No, we're not going to get my hair cut. The only thing is that I've had my hair cut by you using the dog's clippers, would you believe? And it shows.
Sorry, folks.
It is not your
the mad
strong
professor
suit.
look.
Yeah, exactly.
The mad professor. And my hair is so long now and a different colour. But hey, we've had to put up with lockdown.
However, of course, we can groom our own dogs at home, and we should do.
It's good for us. It's good for our dogs. It actually raises the level of, well, you're the sciencey chap.
Well, it's recommended for raising your oxytocin, feel-good chemical.
That's right.
In your brain.
For both dog and human being. But some people get very stressed about grooming.
Yeah, and some dogs do too.
Yeah, and it's all about starting from the beginning when your dogs are puppies.
Right away, get them used to grooming from day one.
Absolutely. Now, the thing is, though, what about if you've got a rescue dog that, it's come to you as an adult and they don't like grooming? What are the tips there?
Well, we've got to condition them to enjoy it. So it's got to be made an enjoyable thing so that they come and actually ask for it.
Yeah, they get to be groomed.
Yeah.
Prompt to be groomed.
So we've got to be very careful that we're not causing any pain or discomfort when we do it.
Absolutely. And we do it gentle steps, little and often. I often say to clients, little and often, because some clients go, right, I've got the dog in front of me. It's all full of burrs because they've gone walking, and they try and get them all out all at once. And then the dog never wants to, be groomed again because it hurts.
Absolutely. And, of course, if it hurts once, it's likely to hurt again. So they become reluctant, tense. And, of course, that makes it worse.
Absolutely.
Then we become tense and our emotions will reflect off one another.
We won't feel good, will we? We'll have stress, and the dogs will get stressed, and, we'll get annoyed with each other, and the dog will get annoyed with you. And, tip here. If your dog is grumbling at you, don't actually think this is a bad thing. If my dog grumbles at me, he's telling me something.
What's he telling you?
He's telling me it's hurting. And it's much better that your dog, because they vocalize. Dogs actually say how they're feeling. Often when we ignore a grumble and get cross with a grumble, that it goes up the ladder and the dog feels that the next
They have to do the next step, and that's called the ladder of aggression.
Yeah,
often depicted as a ladder, but it's more of a sort of snakes and ladders. You've got to stop the dog jumping straight in at the top.
Yeah, and actually, if you ignore grumbles, you actually make the dog say, right, you ignored my grumble, you've ignored my body language, so now I'm going to bite you when you try and brush me. That's particularly with adult dogs. With puppies, it's all wriggly and, and that's why I say start when they're puppies.
So that's different to what we might call puppy biting.
Yeah, or they might try and nibble you, but you go, ouch, and stop. The fun stops when, little sharp teeth pierce your skin. It hurts.
Yeah. And for
biting.
Puppies, fun is virtually everything.
Oh, absolutely. And they will try and chase the actual brush, and we've got to teach them good manners when they're grooming. And, we've got to teach our dogs relaxation cues when they're, so that I start by just running my hands along the dog's back and going, yes, or nice, or gentle, or a cue word.
All calming words.
A calming word.
In a calming way.
Absolutely. And then give them a treat. And, just using the back of your hand on a regular daily basis with your puppy. You used to do that with our dogs. When we practice and ran puppy courses, you used to actually handle them.
Yeah, absolutely. And show people that by doing it that way, that the dog can become accustomed to that sensation. And then when you arm yourself with a brush, that is not a big scary thing that suddenly appeared, or indeed it's not some strange creature that needs chasing and not become a toy in itself. So it's a skill,
Yes,
and it's well
absolutely.
worth. The other thing I would say is there are 101, maybe more, different forms of brushes and grooming and rakes and things. When you start with something that's fairly gentle.
Yeah, do you know there's loads of products out there, but do you know what I did in the end? I used my daughter's brush that, it's one of those makes, I forget what that, for tangly hair, f- that you start at the bottom and you work up to the roots. And I use it on my long hair dogs. And I know there's products out there very similar, but you'll have to do some Google research. But it's a no tangle hairbrush. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't actually pull, and it's so useful. I still use my daughter's brush on my dog today.
And do remember, of course, each different breed or type of dog has a different hair type, a different length, a different style to some extent. And if you really are struggling, then finding a good dog groomer is worth it.
Well,
because
especially
they can do a job that will reflect the dog's coat. So, for instance, if you have a woolly type of
poodle.
coat, poodle, yeah, you will need a proper clipping. Now, there are different forms of clipping. They can be very fancy, or they can be just a basic thing that you can
But
decide.
you've got to get the dog used to the clippers.
And then we come into sound sensitivity, don't we? Because some dogs are completely scared of the mechanical noise of clippers, and of course each clipper is different. Some are very clattery, some aren't. So it's a whole science in itself.
And then you come to the paw clipping, and I use a Dremel on our dogs, don't we? And but to start off with, they didn't like the sound of the zzz noise, and yes, we also can use the nail clippers. But a little dremeling each day is much easier.
When I was practicing vet, one of the big things that dogs were brought in for, cats do as well, but dogs particularly, was having their nails clipped. And that could be such a major thing for some dogs. They were totally did not like the sensation. And I've known some dogs that the only way they would ever have their nails clipped is when they're under sedation. It can be that bad and difficult for them. It is possibly, because they were hurt at some point by a clip that was too short, or just the sensation of it. So having good pair of clippers, if you are going to clip, being very careful where you clip, get instruction, let your local vet show you how to do it safely.
Yeah, because there's what's that bit in the bit
we call it the quick. It's the blood vessel and nerve that runs down the middle of the claw. If you cut too close, as you would with your own fingernail, it hurts. Ouch. Yeah. So it's to be avoided if at all possible. And then, of course, dogs have different coloured nails. So
the lighter ones,
you can actually see it as a through the side of the claw, and you can make sure you're well away. But if they have black claws, which a lot of dogs do, there's no obvious outward sign of where the quick ends and the nail proper begins. So you have to be very careful. That's where going to your local vet or groomer who could do it safely and effectively is perhaps worthwhile considering if you're at all worried about it.
Yes, because if you're worried, the dog's going to pick that up and think, yes, Mum, I've got something to worry about because you were worried.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's
And
what
the whole situation become quite stressful for
Yeah.
everybody.
and that's why dogs are so brilliant, isn't it? Because they actually read our emotions.
Yeah, they do.
And and that's where the building the bond comes, is understanding that we have emotions that actually interplay with our dog's emotions.
Yes, the dogs sense our emotions, do they not? And perhaps we sense theirs, but perhaps we're a little less aware of that.
Yeah.
But the more aware we are of our own dog's emotions, and the more we can control our emotions, the better we are at
Yeah. And we've got
keeping the things on an even keel.
we've got to try and, as Horowitz calls it, umwelt, where understand what makes a dog, what makes a dog tick, and I call it dogmanship. Being able to actually sort of feel, how a dog is feeling themselves. Now, children are good at that, aren't they? They're good at picking up, the emotions of a dog. Don't you think they have a natural acuity that we've lost?
Yeah, probably. And I think you have to be very careful with very young children, because I'm not sure that they're really quite aware of what they're feeling, let alone what the dog's feeling. So I think
Yeah.
very small children can be over the top, if I can put it there, with the dog, and come rushing up when they should have just stood back and observed.
Yeah, it's like I often say that children might have that acuity, natural affiliation, and they call it biophilia, don't they, with another sentient being and another creature, but they don't necessarily have the ability to understand what they've done to make the dog react in a certain way.
Yes, and as you say, there are some people who are more attuned to it. You call it, I think, in your book, or you call it dogmanship. It is, just having the awareness of what's going to happen in the next minute or instant.
Yeah, we feel it in our amygdala, and it's getting in touch with our primeval brain, isn't it? And understanding. Do you know that feeling you get when you get in? Well, you might not know that feeling, but if you get into a lift on your own with a stranger and you feel uncomfortable, I don't know if you've ever done that, but I have, and I've gone, oh, I'm not sure about this chap, and your amygdala is saying, get out of here quick. So
you get off at the next.
You get off.
The next
Yeah,
stop.
exactly.
Yes.
So when you're grooming, you have to understand, the shifts of your dog and the shifts of the body language, and I like to use things to relax them, like the strokes and the cues, the verbal cues to relax. I also like to use things like lick mats, which I load. And if readers,
what
I
is
thought
a
you were gonna
lick
ask-
mat?
Yes, sounds great, doesn't it? But, it's a rubber mat, square, with little indentations in it, and I use them to load up some wet food on it, and sometimes I scatter some dry food on top, and then I'll put it on a platform that I'm, grooming. I like to groom my dogs on a platform.
Why do you like to groom on a platform?
Well, I am getting old a bit, and my back hurts, and I don't like being on the floor.
But there's no reason why you couldn't do it on the floor.
You could do it on the floor.
You could have the dog sitting on your knee, indeed.
Indeed. But also the thing is, on a platform, I mean, it's all preference, isn't it? On a platform, the dog, if you've taught them boundaries and get on the bed, and we have raised beds, that's just an extension of that. And they know that that's a safe place to be. And that's where lovely things happen on that bed, because you've loaded that sweetie jar, that bed, with all good things like, chew bone at night, a Kong filled with their favorite dinner, a lick mat, or, and all those calming things. Then if you give them one of those while they're,
Their mind is on licking their food, and of course they
And-
can't just
and that
swallow it down straight away. They have to, as the term says, lick it off, and that takes time, during which you can get a good bit of grooming done.
and
Is that
it
the idea?
relaxes them, and it shows them that this is okay. You're going to get rewarded for staying still, and
Yeah, for
But
some dogs, staying still is quite a difficult thing.
yeah. I like as well. I know the groomers will use restraint methods with on their grooming tables, and hopefully your dog will be taught gradually how to accept that. If you've got a good groomer, they'll work with you to do that. But I like at home to have the dog is able to get off the table, and say, "I've had enough." And I do it in short bursts, and then I throw the food, a treat off, so that they can, especially with border collies that are so busy and staying still, or a cocker that finds it difficult to stay still, throwing the food away and letting them shake off, what stress they may have gained, because that's the thing, giving them the choice. That means they're staying there and they're choosing to stay there, because you've trained them to choose to stay there. And then they won't get so stressed.
Yeah, and then the next time you do it, which hopefully will be the next day or within a day or two, you'll be one step ahead, and
if
you
you do
build
it,
on it.
if you do it regularly and daily, I know we tend to rotate ours, and not now they're getting older, but when you're starting off with a new dog or a new puppy, daily grooming
I
is
think
a
it's
fun
very
thing
important,
to
if I can just interject here, that daily, one of the things I would like, because we're in a beginning of spring when we're doing this podcast, and very soon summer will be upon us. And one of the things is particularly dogs with a lot of hair around their feet and their toes, are very prone to picking up these grass awns, which can burrow under the skin in a matter of minutes. And most vets will know that this can be a major difficulty and problem. So it's good to be able to check your dogs before these seeds and things have got under the skin, which means really checking them after every walk where you've been through any sort of
in
weedy,
between the
grassy,
toes.
in between the toes, in the ears, up in the groin, in the armpits, all sorts of places where the folds of skin come together. And talking of folds of skin,
Right? You're not
I
talking about my sagging skin, are you? No.
never.
Oh, good. Okay.
But there are dogs that do have folds of skin and sagging skin, particularly the brachycephalic breeds, the ones with the squashed-in noses, often have folds of skin. And dogs, they may not have long hair, but they have folds of skin, and they need just as much care and attention as dogs with long coats.
What with grooming?
With grooming,
Well,
yes,
how can you
need to
groom a
keep-
short-haired dog?
Well, you should still groom a short-haired dog, for the very good reasons that it is part of your care of the dog. You are checking the dog over. You're looking for changes in the skin, any problems that you can see.
And it's part of their hedonic budget as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are getting rid of dead hair, and you are improving the blood flow to the skin and general skin condition. And you're also taking an opportunity to check out your dog and
For lumps and bumps?
lumps and bumps. And if your dog is a brachycephalic dog, checking between the folds of skin that there's no soreness there.
Would you suggest wiping in between those?
Wiping, definitely, to get away any
With the cotton wool?
yeah, or very mild wet wipe type of things can be quite useful. But it can be certainly what you don't want is them to get sore, because then the dog will resent you lifting their folds of skin, and that's when you start to get problems.
yeah,
So
and
please, if you have
itchy skins
Itchy
and
skins.
pain,
yeah, pain and itch are
empty that sweetie jar, don't they?
They do.
And then they become a bit moody, would you say?
I would say a dog that's got a very itchy skin, itch and pain are very closely associated, and a dog that's very itchy can be quite a miserable dog. So if you have an itchy dog, and a bit of simple grooming has not solved the problem, and you must check that you've not got any creepy crawlies and parasites, which is something perhaps we should talk about at some point. But get your dog down to the vet, because there are a lot of dogs, like a lot of people these days, have allergies, and in dogs, allergies usually come out as skin problems.
And hot spots, isn't it?
Hot spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, summertime, but not always, and that's a very painful condition. So any sign of anything changing on the skin is a very important sign. Get down to your vet, get it checked out.
So your top health tips, Robert?
Top health tips for skin and that
And
such
grooming
is
and-
grooming. One of the things we haven't mentioned are ears.
Ah, right,
And
okay.
perhaps my health tip this podcast should be about ear health. Now, ears, dogs have different types of ears. Some have sticky up ears and some have dangly, floppy, long ears. And you can see the difference. A dog that has erect ears, its ear canal is going to naturally ventilate much better than a dog with long, pendulous ears.
Like the spaniel.
Spaniel being the classic. And of course, under those pendulous ears, it's a nice environment for bugs, yeasts, bacteria, and such like to really get a hold before you've even realised. And often dogs with long pendulous ears don't scratch as much as or shake as much as other dogs do. They seem to tolerate it a little bit more. So part of your grooming should be to check inside the ear as far as you can see. And if
Not poking anything down it.
Do not go with poking with cotton buds and things like that. And the other thing you can do is smell the ear. If there is some horrible smell out of the ear, even though you might not be able to see anything, deep down there may be a problem. That's another flag for getting down to the vet, for him to have a look down, him or her, to have a look down with a scope so that they can see what's going.
If you're hearing
Hear funny noises, it's the blinds up above that are
flapping
in the.
Don't worry, folks.
Well, it's not the breeze; it's the sun, isn't it?
So smelly ears is a sign to do something. Big sign.
Yeah,
but poking the not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
But getting the dog used to your finger going around the ear.
Yes. Now, if you end up having to clean or medicate the ears, then a dog that's used to having you rub around the opening of the ear canal, it's going to be a lot easier to treat than a dog that's going, what are you up to? What are you doing?
So get them used to that.
Get them used to it from a puppy age, as we used to do with our puppy classes.
Yeah.
Get them used to
and
checking the ears,
right,
handling the ears, so that when things come along, as they might do in later life, then it's not a big issue.
And if you've got an adult dog that you've bought, you can rescued, you can then do it gradually, bit by bit.
Absolutely.
And get them desensitized.
It's got to be the way, hasn't it? Desensitized.
Okay. I think that will.
Well, that's a good place to stop. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about ears.
Yeah. So
grooming
if you want to listen to us, don't forget to go on Lassie Talks podcast, and also we're on the website at lassietalks.com. Yeah, put my teeth back in, and Facebook as well. And
keep in touch.
Yeah, see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Lassie Talks. If you would like to get in touch or have any questions, then please visit lassietalks.com or visit our Facebook and YouTube page. Every dog has a Lassie's heart. So remember, we need to make our homes the best place for our dogs to be. See you soon at the next episode of Lassie Talks. Lassie Talks was recorded and produced at Monkey Nut Audiobooks.